It's crazy to me to think how long it's been since I actually started a business. See, the thing that you really don't know about me is that I never sought out to be a business owner or entrepreneur. I had no aspirations of that whatsoever. I was a finance major. I was going to college to get my finance degree, to get a corporate job, ride the corporate ladder, and that was my future. And then I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that book changed not just my life, but how I think about things, how I thought about business and how I thought about making money and income. And if you're familiar with the cash flow quadrant, how do I go from being an employee to an investor? And these were just principles that weren't taught to me. My father was not a business owner. I didn't have any family members that were business owners. So this was something I had to learn on my own. But just through by the grace of God and circumstance, I ended up becoming a business owner because my old brokerage firm sold out. And I could have stayed with the new firm, but didn't really like where that was going. Wells Fargo. So I ended up co-founding an investment firm with 3 other guys, and that's where my journey began. Becoming a business owner and then an entrepreneur. But let me tell you, it hasn't been easy. It has been a roller coaster of a ride. I've enjoyed every moment. I've enjoyed most of the moments, but there definitely have been some hardships. But for those that are interested in becoming a business owner, have aspirations to become an entrepreneur, what I want to do today is I want to share the 7 crucial lessons I learned from starting my business. And I've got some appointments today, so I thought I'd do something a little different and just kind of take this on the road and just share some of my journey, some of my experiences along the way. So if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur or business owner, I'm going to share the 7 crucial lessons I've learned starting my own business. Let's check it out. All right, outside one of my favorite restaurants, Chipotle, waiting for my wife to arrive in between appointments. But one of the things that I took me some time to figure this out, right? But when I started as a financial advisor, and this, you can apply that to any sales position, is unlimited upside potential as far as income goes. Basically the sky's the limit. This is what they tell you. But at the end of the day, I still was not a business owner. I was a W-2 employee. Now there was some perks to that, at least in the financial advisor space. I didn't have to worry about my office, I didn't worry about my computers, I didn't worry about the phone bill, the internet bill, brochures, mailings. Like, they took care of all of that. And sometimes you don't realize like all that goes into starting your own business, of having to take care of all those necessities. Now, with that came a cost, and I shared this in another video that you can check out where I talk about being a successful financial advisor and what it took to earn 6 figures. With that, they took 60% of all the revenue that I brought in. So 60 cents of every dollar they took. They paid for a lot of things. Now, it took me about 5 years to figure this out, but if you actually have the ability to go out and do this yourself, you can make more. But it comes with a lot of stress and a lot of headache. But these are things that I, as a business owner, I would have never had to figure this out if it wasn't for my firm selling and having to co-found the first investment firm. But that's one of the things that you don't realize as a business owner. So one of the first crucial lesson that I learned is that you have to wear a lot of hats. And I think one of the best books that you can read if you're thinking about becoming a business owner, entrepreneur, is Michael Gerber's E-Myth. And just talking about what it takes to run a business. And most people don't realize what it takes. They think about, well, I've got this skill, I've got this trade, and I'm gonna crush it because I'm good at this. And I think one of the examples he gives in the book, and I can't remember if he gave the example or I'll just use it, is let's say that you're a plumber and you're the best plumber in your area. And if you're a great plumber and there's nobody better than you in your area that does it, that's awesome. But here's the thing, right? just because you're a great plumber doesn't mean that you can run a successful business, because you have to wear a lot of hats. And with a plumbing business, somebody has to market your business, somebody has to manage payroll, maybe you have to hire a team, somebody has to manage those team members, overhead, all the things that come with running a business that you don't think about until you actually have to do it. And to be successful at your business, you want to get paid to do what you do well. And if you're stuck having to take care of managing payroll, or finding office space, or talking to the newspaper, or running your Facebook ad campaign, if you're doing all those things and trying to wear all those different hats, then you're not getting paid as the business owner, because you're not out there plumbing what you should be doing. That's what you have to realize, is that it's not just, oh, I'm good at this, I'm gonna start a business, bam. That's what you have to do. And I kind of lucked out in the sense where, having to co-found a firm where I had 3 other guys, like that wasn't one of my strong suits, wearing different hats. So I could kind of lean on these guys to kind of help out in that regards. But you have to realize that, right? You're gonna have to wear a lot of hats. All right, the second thing you gotta realize is that overhead is gonna kill you. And we just talked about all the different costs associated with running a business, but whether you have rent, you have your internet provider, you have to get office equipment, maybe like with the plumbing business, maybe you have to buy trucks, different types of equipment. Overhead can kill you. And you don't realize, like I didn't realize this until going to co-found the investment firm. I had all these bells and whistles at my old brokerage firm. Like these are all neat things that I loved having, but when I started to price it out and realize, okay, maybe I don't need of all these things. And just a few examples I have, one of the cool things we had at my old brokerage firm was like this stock quoter system where you could input like 300 different stock positions, and you have it on your screen where you could track stock prices all day long, different stocks, different mutual funds, different indexes. And it was cool because it was like on the second updated. So I thought that I needed this thing. So whenever I left and started my own firm, I started looking to like how much this service cost, and it was $300 a month to have this stock quoting system. So $3,600 a year to have this. And I really started thinking about, is this something that I really need? Is this something that I can justify paying on a monthly level of $300 a month? And especially when you have access to Google Finance, Yahoo Finance. I mean, there's all these quoting systems. On your phone nowadays, you can keep track of stocks. Maybe not 300 stocks, but enough. And just realize, like, I don't need this. Like, this is a waste of money. This is not good for the business. Another thing that we needed was a sign, for the outside of our office. Having an office sign. And the funny thing was, we had a competitor in our area that put up one of those flashing signs that would say the weather. You could put custom messages on it, and we ended up using the same sign company as he did. So when we inquired about how much his sign cost, we were quoted a price of $30,000 to have this sign that lit up and said stupid messages. So the sign that we ended up getting was your basic sign that required some light bulbs and would turn on at night, and the cost was $3,400. So $30,000 versus $3,400. Which one do you think is going to be the most viable? And we just had to ask ourselves, like, is it really worth $30,000? Is that really going to increase bottom line? Is that going to bring in more clients because we have a fancy sign? At the end of the day, we just decided, no, it's not. That's just a waste of money. And probably the other big thing was office space. Now, where I used to live, like, there wasn't a lot of great office space, but we kind of lucked out, and we had an older building that was renovated, had some old custom brick on the inside, and just really cool. They did a great job. And our rent was about $5,500 for 3,000 square feet. And if you live like in a big city, and I share those numbers, you're probably wondering, where in the heck did I used to live? Southern Illinois, just to give you an idea. Now, the funny thing was, I had another friend of mine who also was a financial advisor and started his own business about 3 years after I had co-founded mine, or maybe 3 to 5 years. And he was looking to get this new office building that was built. I mean, it was immaculate. I mean, it was amazing. But for him, it was gonna cost $11,000 a month for half the square footage. So it was about 1,500 square feet. 11 grand a month to have this. I mean, the place was amazing. And in his case, he kind of justified it because he had left another advisor he was working with and just really wanted to show his clients that he was successful, that he was going to make it, you know, that he was going to be around. And man, I just remember having lunch with him and just like, dude, I go, that office it's beautiful. Like, I'll give you that. But you're spending $11,000 a month instead of $5,000. I mean, that's money that's not going into your bank account. That is just going towards overhead that like, you're not getting paid on. Like, how much do your clients really need that? Do you think that they're gonna just start working with you because of that? At the end of the day though, I mean, that's what he ended up deciding. And I mean, he's still in business, but one of the things that justified to him was he could have so much more money that he'd be making, that he wasn't shelling on overhead. So you just have to ask yourself, like, what are the things that are most important? Like, what are the things that you need the most? And because at the end of the day, whatever you're spending on overhead is not going to your checking account and you're not getting paid on. All right, just got done with lunch with the missus and we were talking a little bit. I said, you know what? You need to like just share probably some of the things. I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons with the business, but I know that you have done a great job of keeping me in check. So I thought you just need to share some of your insights on how Mr. Jeff Rose can get a little spend happy on things. But just anything you remember, or just talk about me personality-wise, is when I try to justify that I need certain things for my business and how I can get a little crazy with it.
Ooh, am I gonna get in trouble for any of this?
No, you would not be held accountable. Sure? Yes.
I get nervous when you see like other people's electronic things because I'm like, oh gosh, don't show him that, don't show him that, don't, because he wants to buy like the next thing. Like every time, for instance, the Apple phone comes out, like the new one, like he's like, it's like he has to have it. It's like you have FOMO or something of electronic video production equipment.
So for those of you that don't have a business partner, I hope you have a spouse, because your spouse is your business partner that will help out in helping you make money by not wasting it on things you don't need.
Well, it's your thing. Like, I let you kind of do your thing, but then I'm also like, okay, we don't need 5 cameras. And, you know, like I have to kind of bring you back down to earth occasionally.
Occasionally.
It's my job.
Especially in the beginning.
Maybe daily. But I mean, I do let you do your thing. For the most part.
For the most part.
With a little bit of like my thumb on there.
I think it took some time though, because I had to show you, I had to deliver some results first.
Oh, absolutely. Like at the beginning, I was like, well, we don't need that, and we don't need this, and like, and you were good with that because you weren't really producing the results yet. But now that like the income is there, and I trust you, in the sense that like I trust your business decisions and your buying decisions, and we're on the same page with that, like it's easier now.
What did you say just with your online business? What are some of the things that stressed you out the most? Like, what are some of the things that you either stressed out about or you didn't really anticipate being a business owner?
10 years I was a bookkeeper, and I'm not a bookkeeper, people, not a bookkeeper.
And you had to be, you're the bookkeeper with the subscription box service that you had, the company you had?
Somehow I was like always the bookkeeper. I feel like, see, I'm good with money, which is weird because you're the financial guy. But like, I feel like I'm good with money. I'm good with like details, and yeah, I ended up finding myself as the bookkeeper, and I really hated that. That stressed me out. Because there's always this part of business that's like, oh, this is fun, and we're doing the online thing, and the social media, and the community, and like the pictures, I love the images, and then you're like, oh, there's this like other side of like, I guess we have to file taxes, and I guess we have to have an expense report, and board meeting minutes, and...
I think that's the biggest, and I was talking about that earlier, that one of the biggest surprises that most people don't realize starting a business is that you can be good at blogging or, you know, promoting something, maybe you have a great product idea, but when it actually comes to running the business and having a successful business, that there are so many different hats that you have to wear. Some you enjoy wearing them, others you just want to put them in a box and forget about them. And you could do that for so long, but eventually like it ain't gonna work out. And that bookkeeping being one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, thankfully we got to a point where, well, we've been at a point where we could have outsourced that, but some things you kind of hold on to because of a control. Just, you know, like that thumb thing I was saying, but you know, it feels good now that we can outsource those things that we very much dislike.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for like letting me know I was joining you about 5 seconds ago.
So that is our lunch discussion and a wrap. So I'm off to my next appointment. She's back to doing what she does.
I'm back to organizing the house because we're still.
That's right. Peace. Okay, we're on to number 3. Got to my appointment a little early, so got some time to record. As a business owner, you can justify so many different things that you think you need. And it's good to have a partner that knows you, that knows your tendencies, just the way that you are, just to call you out when you need to hear it. So if you don't have a spouse, and maybe if you're going to business with partners, then you want to choose your partners carefully. And I mentioned that I had 3 co-founders with the first firm that we created. I then went on to create my own firm, but making sure who are you forming a partnership with? You know, are these guys, are these gals that you trust, that you agree on different just different views, and you have the same growth pattern, and you have the same values? And a lot of times people don't really put a lot of time thinking that through, especially with partnerships. And I think a common thing that you'll hear from a lot of people that are in business is, you know, your partner is somebody that you're going to bed with, even if literally, right? So these are people that you gotta be able to trust them. And the 3 guys that I initially formed that partnership with, like, I trusted them. We were different growth patterns, but we were so alike on so many different ways that I had no doubt that the partnership would flourish, and it did. Now, I will tell you, one mistake that we made was we started adding additional partners. And I think we added 3 more on top of that, and 2 of them were fine. There was one that we all kind of knew that it probably wouldn't be a good fit, but yet there was that monetary, if we add another partner, it's going to cut down on overhead, it's putting more money in our pockets. You know, how bad could it be? And that's a whole other story. We brought that person on, and it just has been, wasn't a good fit at all. And it just added this cancer inside the firm that it didn't break us, but it definitely caused a lot of tension. So know who you're going into partnership with. Make sure that you know them. And if you don't know them, do your background check. Other things you want to think about is making sure that you have a partnership agreement in place, a ironclad, spelled out partnership agreement of what happens if a partner leaves and how you decide on making decisions as a partnership. You know, is it unanimous? Is it majority? You know, these are the things that you want to iron out. And most people don't want to do that because they don't want to mess with it, because it's a headache, you know, to go through all that stuff. But it's a little headache now that can prevent a major headache later on. Some other things you might want to consider would be like key man life insurance. You know, if there's just a strategic employee or a strategic partner, if something were to happen to them, you want to have a life insurance policy to make that transition so much sooner. So know your partners, know who you're going into bed with, because if you don't, it's just not gonna be a good thing. All right, number 4, once you get the business going, one thing that you can't stop working on and trying to improve is being more efficient. Being more efficient in your business, being more efficient with your processes, the way that you service your clients, the way that you service your customers, the way that you go about running that business. And you probably heard the term scale. You know, how do you scale? How do you grow it? How do you manage it? How do you do so in a way that just makes it so much easier for you, your employees, for your family? It's just so important. And I know with one of the things that you as a business owner can do to help this is that it doesn't matter what your business is, but if you are the business owner and you have a certain skill or a trade, or just you have something that
there just aren't a lot of people out there that can do what you do. The cool thing about that is that it's all here and you're lights out with it. You know, for me, it was not just the selling, but the way that I went about with my financial planning clients, you know, the way that I would initially contact them and how we would go through that first appointment and then the follow-up and how we presented our financial plan. I mean, there's a lot of stuff up in here that lived up in here. And with my office manager, you know, with junior advisors, they couldn't read my mind. So I had to get that stuff out of here and put it onto paper in the form of having processes in place. And it was something that I discounted for so long, because when you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, all you want to do is go out and do what you do and make money. But if you want to scale, you want to delegate, if you want to outsource, you can't delegate if you don't take the time to show people how you do what you do. And even more so, like, how do you expect people to deliver in a way that meets your expectations if you never take the time to offload it out of your head into some sort of process? Now, there's a variety of ways that you can do this. Easier ways are, I mean, you could write down on a legal pad. You can a Google Doc or a Word doc. You know, basically, how do you take what you do and put it into step-by-step processes? And I always think of it because my kids love Legos. They love Legos. And what makes Legos so cool is that you have this instruction booklet that walks you through that step-by-step process of putting one block on top of the other. And it makes it so simple because it's simple, right? Your processes in your business should be the same way. It's as if somebody has never worked in your business before, they don't know anything about what you do or how you do it. Could you hand them an instruction booklet to where they can open it up, turn to page 1, and all right, step 1, I do this. Step 2, I do this. Step 25, I do this. And once you take the time to get it off your plate, get it out of your head into a process, it makes your team so much more efficient. And it also helps out with changeover. Or if you want to grow your business, you know, it happens, right? Employees leave, they move, they get a better job offer, just it doesn't work out. And now you got to bring somebody else in and retrain them. Well, if you took the time to make a process of everything that you do in your business, now they have a training manual that's already done. You're like, all right, here's how we do it. Take a look, and you can read it, go through it. If you get stuck on anything, let me know, and I'll walk you through it. And most of the time, they don't, if you took the time to do it right. But the best part about having these processes, it just allows you to delegate. And we talked about wearing hats before, right? Wearing all the hats you wear as a business owner. Well, now you don't have to wear a lot of those hats. And the hat that you get to wear is the one that gets you paid the most, that allows you to take care of making that sale or servicing that customer. And you know, for me as a financial advisor, whenever I was still growing my business and still networking and marketing and cold calling, you know, the way that I got paid was sitting down and meeting with a client and getting to know them and their story, and then coming up with solutions to help them identify whatever challenge they had and offer a solution for them. A lot of the things that I do as service-wise is, you know, sending the client checks and getting direct deposited and getting them their 1099s and updated statements. And those are all things that are part of the business and servicing the client. But that's not where I excelled, and that's not where I got paid to really do what I do well. So that's where having team members come on and take care of those tasks, what I like to call the crap tasks, and allow me to focus on what I do best and what I excel at. And that's the only way that you can do that, though, is if having a process on all the different functions in your business to make that work.
But the other thing that I learned, when you start a business, you don't just work 9 to 5. Like, you don't get to clock in, clock out, and the day is done. I mean, you could do that as a business, but if you want to be successful, I mean, you got to hustle your butt off. And even when I was still a W-2 employee, I mean, I was cold calling, I was doing seminars, I was doing lunch and learns. I mean, I was doing anything I could to get new clients, to get myself out there. But then, you know, starting a business, man, like I had to transfer clients over. I had a lot of paperwork that needed to be done. And I remember I was working, this is 5 years in the business, 5+ years in the business, and I'm still working evenings, working weekends. I remember actually it was Christmas Eve, I was signing some transfer paperwork to bring some clients over. Now, I don't still work on Christmas Eve, and I think it's the only time that I've worked on Christmas Eve, but still, that was the only time that the client was home, that they could sign the paperwork and, you know, bring them over. So that's what I did. And if you want to be successful, I mean, you hear it. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk, can't even say his name, says it all the time, man, you gotta hustle. You gotta put the time in if you want to win it, to be successful. So that's what you gotta do. So it ain't just the 9 to 5. It is 9 to 9 sometimes. I mean, we're talking 60, 80 hours a week, depending. Now, in the beginning, I think 60 plus is what all I was doing. But I would tell you that when I started the blog and the online business, I was working my financial planning practice, doing that full time, and I was learning how to start a blog, how to start an online business, researching SEO. Anything I needed to know or thought I needed to know, I was trying to figure it out. So even then, and we're talking 6, 7 years in the business, I'm still grinding away, you know, still growing. Now, I'm thankful now that I don't have to put that time in, and I'll never be working on Christmas Eve. I'll never be working on the evenings unless I'm working from my house and I'm shooting a video because I want to shoot a video, but that's about it. But don't kid yourself, don't lie to yourself and think that working a 9 to 5 is all that you need to be successful. That's something, one of the main lessons that I learned. All right, I gotta run somewhere else, and we'll continue this as we go along. All right, I had to get some gas real quick, and just want to continue with this. But another thing that I learned, and it's still a hard one for me to actually pick up, is you gotta learn to celebrate your successes. So I know for me, especially, you know, if you're in sales, if you're doing anything that's trying to get new customers, get new clients, the fun part is the process, is actually going out and getting that person, and then you close them. But like most true entrepreneurs, once you get that, then you ask yourself, what's the next thing? Like, on to the next thing. And this is one of those, I won't say good problems to have, but the struggle in that is you're never content. You always want more. Like, it's always the next thing. It's never good enough. And that's good if you're driven, but you do have to take a step back and just celebrate your wins, celebrate your successes. Whether that be treating yourself to something, maybe it's going on a trip, maybe it's just going out to a nice dinner with your wife or your husband. You gotta celebrate those. And one of the things I do, and I'll share this in a later video, is when I work on my goals, each quarter, I always revisit my goals. So I do quarterly goals, I do yearly goals, 3-year goals, all that good stuff. And I always reflect back on what has transpired over that last quarter. You know, where was I? What was I trying to do? What happened? You know, what worked out, what didn't? But forcing myself to reflect back every 90 days means that I'm always looking back at all the achievements that I did in the last 3 months. And it's crazy the amount of things that you can accomplish in 90 days. But if you are truly an entrepreneur, a driven business owner, you forget that stuff. And I forget it all the time. So I have to force myself, literally force myself every 90 days to take a look at, what did I do? What are the things I accomplished? And really just take ownership and take stock of that and appreciate the fact that, wow, okay, I actually did do something. You know, because sometimes it's, you just kind of beat yourself up. Man, I didn't do enough. You know, you look at other successful entrepreneurs that are just crushing it, and you look at what you did, and like, I don't know if I really did anything. But once you kind of do that every 90 days, it's quite amazing and also just refreshing, fulfilling to see what you did. So take stock of your wins, celebrate the successes, and that way it just keeps you going even more. Otherwise, you definitely start getting this complex of, man, I needed to go out and do more. All right, I already filled up my gas, so on to the next stop. This is what your home office looks like whenever you keep ordering stuff from Amazon. I got some TV brackets to hook up my studio here in the office. Got my Apple TV, haven't hooked up that yet. Just bought an HD, not HD, but a 4K TV, so that's ready to go. All right, so just got home and just in time to share number 7, what is the last crucial lesson I learned. And I mean, to say that only 7 lessons I've learned starting a business, I mean, if truth be told, this video would probably be 2 hours if I shared every single lesson. But I think one of the harder lessons that I learned was just because you build it doesn't mean that they'll come. And this is a bit of an older movie, but Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner, if you've not checked that out, an amazing movie. But in that movie, just because you build it doesn't mean that they'll come. So just because you have a great business idea, just because you are amazing at what you do, just because you put a sign in front of your store, or you start a Facebook page, or you start a Google ad, just because you do this doesn't mean people are going to flock to you and wanting to work with you and start wanting to buy your things or use your service. You've got to market the crap out of yourself. Now it's funny because where I just moved from, there was this burger joint that built this brand new building, 100% brick. I mean, this thing was gorgeous. The location was a bit questionable, but they spent a lot of money for this restaurant. And all they sold was burgers. You know, you got McDonald's, In-N-Out Burger if you live on the West Coast, Five Guys, Shake Shack, all these great burger joints. And I mean, it was a decent burger, but they spent so much money in a not so great location that within, I think it was like 6 months or 9 months, they shut down. Brand new business, that one of the best looking buildings in our area at the time, and they didn't make it a year. I mean, it was like 9 months. It was embarrassing. But just because they built it, just because they built a brand new building, something new to the area that nobody had ever offered, but the service actually was questionable and the food was okay, wasn't fantastic. And sure enough, they closed down. So just because you build it doesn't mean that they'll come. And even for me, like, yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, I was cold calling, I was doing seminars. That was for the first several years of my business. So even when I switched over and co-founded my investment firm, when I finally launched my wealth management firm, I still had to market myself. Now, thankfully, along the way, I picked up online marketing and blogging and social media. So it made it much easier than having to cold call, door knocking, all that fun stuff. But just because I built it doesn't mean they're gonna come. I still had to market myself. So I was still publishing content, writing blog posts, doing videos, going to local news, doing everything that I could to get my name out there. And that's what I did. So just because you put up a sign and just because you start an LLC and just because you put up a website doesn't mean they're gonna come. You gotta market yourself, and not only that, once you actually get your first paying customer, you better service the crap out of them. You better love them to death and make them feel like they're going to the Four Seasons. That's how you want to make them feel. Make sure you do that. That probably should be point number 8. All right, so I'm curious, have you started a business? If so, what are some of the crucial lessons that you've learned, that you discovered that you didn't anticipate was going to happen, but it did? And you were like, what? What's going on? If you haven't started a business, I'm curious, what are some of the things that you think that you're going to encounter starting your business? What are some of the obstacles, or what are some of the roadblocks that you think that you're going to encounter doing that? And maybe you want to start a business, and maybe you're already encountering some of those roadblocks right now. You know, what are some of the lessons that you're learning just trying to get your business off the ground? Keep the conversation going, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Bing, bing, bing. Oh, you know where it is. Wherever it is, subscribe. You know what to do. And yeah, until next time.